Hi, I'm Tim, and welcome to Watch You Want. Thanks for logging on. Let's face it, if you clicked on the hyperlink, you already know what this is, but I'm going to give it its due anyway, because it deserves it. You're looking at the Rolex Cosmograph Daytona reference 6239 exotic dial, best known as the, wait for it, Paul Newman. Not only a Paul Newman, but the 6239 was the first of the line, and significantly, it was the reference that Paul Newman himself actually owned and wore. Moreover, this combination with the light dial with the black subregisters, the so-called Panda, is the exact color combination that Newman was seen wearing in the 1969 film Winning, subsequently given the watch by his wife Joanne Woodward, giving birth to the legend of the Rolex Cosmograph Daytona, Paul Newman. And I will note that the 6239 is a Cosmograph Daytona, not an Oyster Perpetual Cosmograph. This is the pre-Oyster case. This one, being a 1.6 million serial number range, was built in 1965, so it's really a historic pioneer on several fronts. First and foremost because it predates Paul Newman's own motorsports career by over half a decade, and it was released only 1 year after the Rolex 6239 formally became the Daytona. Now, released in 1963, the watch was originally called the LeMans, which was a little bit awkward when you think about it. It just does not roll off the tongue. But in 1964, Rolex sponsorship of the legendary 24-hour sports car race at Daytona Beach gave birth to a moniker and a motorsports association that endures to the present day. As the official winner's gift of the 24 Hours of Daytona, one was awarded in 1995 to a man who already had one in his closet, Paul Newman, overall winner of the 1995 24 Hours of Daytona, also a class winner and second overall at the 1979 24 Hours of Le Mans. He was a fearsome race car driver in his day. Just as the history of the Rolex Daytona is steeped in motorsports lore, so is Paul Newman something of a fixture on racetracks. Between 1972 and 2005, from his first race to his last professional race, Paul Newman was a prolific winner of 4 SCCA Trans Am National titles. Again, a class win and second overall, standing on the overall podium at the 24 Hours of Le Mans with Dick Barber, no less, and victor in the 1995 24 Hours of Daytona as the oldest ever overall winning driver. He didn't drive his last professional race till 2005 again, when he was 80 years old. This was not just an old guy who bought a race seat. He was a pro in every sense of the word, and he discovered that passion for motorsports in 1969 while filming Winning with this watch. So now you know how Newman came to be associated with this watch and why it's really a special association, because Newman and the Daytona are both so inextricably linked really to endurance racing, sports car racing, to the Daytona Beach motorsports scene. It's a great heritage, but apart from the celebrity associations, this watch has a tremendous amount to recommend it, because while it is not the most expensive vintage Rolex, nor is it the rarest, in my opinion, it is by far the coolest, and this awesome Panda Dial 6239 has the works. First and foremost, let's talk about fit and let's talk about provenance. I don't need to say too much about fit. Between 36 and 37 millimeters in stainless steel, this watch would look cool on my wrist. This watch could make Richard Simmons look cool. This thing could make Carrot Top hip. Everything about this watch exudes attitude. It exudes motorsports cool. It is authentic. It doesn't have to try too hard because it's already there. The bottom line is that this color combination in this model is not just classic, it's arguably immortal. As I said before I started the video, really, if you clicked on the hyperlink, you probably already know the story. So let's go in depth. Now, first and foremost, for reference, my wrist is 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters. It looks great. The fact that it has large flared lugs and an integrated bracelet means it does wear a little bit larger than its nominal, 36.5 millimeters. It's not quite the presence of a modern Rolex 40, but the bottom line is it more than holds its own, and it's got a great stance. Also, let's talk a little bit about this reference 6239 and the caliber 722-1 within, and how we know that not only is this one of the most original, in the best condition, but it's got a provenance to match. Now, this watch was formerly offered by auction houses Christie and Antiquorum. Now, the watch was actually offered in the June 2014 Hong Kong Antiquorum auction, rated as an A, excellent. You can check it out online. It was lot 447. This has an impeccable provenance, having been certified by both auction houses as an outstanding original example. Dial, hands, case, movement, all those elements that are essential to the value and collector interest of a vintage Rolex are intact. This one goes even deeper than that, because while it's been said that the dial is something like 50 to 90% of the value of a vintage Rolex, and that's certainly true, I'm a gearhead. I like movements, and at the end of the day, you want to know that your watch is all Rolex, and moreover, that it's one of the best. If you're spending top dollar, you deserve to get top quality. This watch delivers. Now, based on the Value 72 Alpha, Rolex modified one of the finest column wheel chronographs of the day to create the 722-1 movement used in this Daytona. Now, that's a fantastic basic movement, and it's appeared in a lot of top-end chronographs, but Rolex kind of burned the midnight oil, even then, in the early 1960s, to make it its own. Now, the first and foremost modification of the 18,000 vibration per hour Value 72A is the use of a free-sprung balance. Rolex always stressed durability first and foremost. When you open this watch up, not only do you find that the movement is unmarked and unmarred, but it's completely intact, down to the original hairspring guard over the Breguet overcoil hairspring. Now, just as the free-sprung movement that Rolex added was added with a mind towards durability, endurance, ruggedness, and obviously sports watch employment, sometimes even trackside, the hairspring guard was a unique feature of the 722-1 designed to prevent the hairspring in the occasion of a severe shock from actually jumping onto the stud holder, which was a hazard in chronographs using an overcoil hairspring, and Rolex found a way to apply a little bar that fit over the hairspring to prevent that jump, that hooking from occurring. The thing is, very few of these watches still feature that piece because it was unique to the 722-1, and oftentimes it was either broken or swapped out during service, so very few survive this intact. And I cannot overstate that if there's just one word to describe this watch, it is intact. It's a time capsule piece, it's a survivor. It's an incredible, almost time tunnel back to 1965, back when the sands of Daytona Beach still roared with big American V8s, Corvettes, big bore Maseratis, small puncher Porsches, back when cars like the wooden monocoque frame Marcos still roared around the high banks. This watch is a time capsule to the days when the Beach Boys could be overheard during the dying hours of the light on the opening afternoon of the 24. It's a romantic watch with fantastic associations. If you know nothing about Paul Newman, if you know nothing about 1960s motorsports, this classic color combination in a no-holds-barred stainless steel tool watch aesthetic just takes you back to the mid-century heyday of professional watches, period. And with that Singer exotic dial, this one's just a little bit different. In this condition, with its provenance, the Paul Newman backstory, and the inescapable fact that if you want the truest Paul Newman, you want the 6239, the one he wore. This watch is the total package. Easily one of the finest examples of a 6239 available on the market now. It's also one of the most evocative examples of the Paul Newman dial in existence available anywhere in the world. You can see it in high-resolution images, including case-back-off movement shots on our website, Watch You Want. Let's face it, if you want the best, folks, here it is.